Παρακαλώ, υποδεχτείτε τη Nia Vardalos.
Thank you. Γεια σας.
Καλώς ήρθες.
Ευχαριστώ, καλώς σας βρήκα. Ευχαριστώ που ήρθατε.
Είναι τεράστια χαρά να σε έχουμε κοντά μας.
Εντάξει, ευχαριστώ πολύ. Ευχαριστώ.
Χαιρόμαστε να σε ακούμε να μιλάς ελληνικά. Μη φοβάσαι όμως, δεν θα κάνουμε όλη τη συνέντευξη.
Εντάξει, προσπαθώ να μιλήσουμε ελληνικά και αν κάνω λάθος να μου πείτε. Όλοι σας. Μαζί. Να πείτε, εντάξει, θα καθίσουμε.
Οκ. Ναι, από ό,τι μου είπανε.
Οκ.
Πόσο συχνά έρχεσαι πια στην Ελλάδα?
Νομίζω έχω έρθει... Ήρθα κάθε χρόνο, μετά έπαθε pandemic και δεν ήρθα για 2 χρόνια. Και ήρθα για τα γυρίσματα γιατί ήταν πολύ σημαντικό για μένα να κάνουμε τα γυρίσματα εδώ στην Ελλάδα. Γιατί η ιστορία είναι, είμαστε εμείς που μένουμε στο εξωτερικό, το είπα σωστά?
Ναι,
that we live, πες το πάλι, that we live outside.
Στο εξωτερικό. Πάρα πολύ σωστά.
Που μένουμε εκεί και είμαστε Έλληνες. Και we think we're Greek, we know we're Greek. Και ερχόμαστε εδώ για διακοπές και δεν είναι το ίδιο να δουλέψουμε εδώ. Και ήρθα εδώ να κάνουμε τα γυρίσματα γιατί η ιστορία είναι εμείς, η Τούλα, και ο πατέρας της έχει πεθάνει και θέλει η Τούλα να πάει στο χωριό του πατέρα της να το δει.
Άρα έχουμε ένα reunion όλων των αγαπημένων χαρακτήρων από την προηγούμενη ταινία.
Ναι, και το έγραψα. Να ξέρεις κάτι, γράφω with hope. I wanted to film in Greece. I did not know how possible it was. And then the Greek government helped us a lot.
I know, because of the conditions that changed.
Yes, we have a tax credit here that makes it beneficial.
So, filming was not very far from here.
Ναι, πήγαμε στο κέντρο, από έξω από εκεί που, δεν ξέρω τι, the street, εκεί που είναι το Grand Britannia. Εκεί ήμασταν, απ' έξω εκεί, στο Σύνταγμα, ναι, γύρω πήγαμε με αυτοκίνητο, μου άρεσε πάρα πολύ. I was on the truck, it was fun. Και μετά πήγαμε στην Κέρκυρα.
Υπέροχο.
Ναι.
Δεν είχαμε τίποτα λιποθυμίες για τον συμπρωταγωνιστή σου, τον John Corbett, που είναι ο αγαπημένος Aidan από το Sex and the City.
Ναι, γύρισε και ο John Corbett. Ναι, γράφω και μετά με φυλάει. Τέλεια.
Νομίζω ότι... Αυτό είναι. Owning your narrative.
Ναι.
I think actually you have more screen time and more kissing on screen than Sarah Jessica Parker with John Corbett.
It's true. Sarah Jessica and I, when we met, we were both nominated for Golden Globes. And we met at the Golden Globes and we both said, we share the same boyfriend.
So this film is like dedicated in the memory of Michael Constantine, the late actor that played your father in the movie.
And I lost my father on March 2020, on March 13th. And it's, for me, I write what happens in my life. And if it's happening in my life, it's probably happening in your life too. Because as we grow up together and as we will never grow old because we're Greek women. But
this is the living example.
But as we grow, things will happen. We will lose family members. We will have scandal in our families. We will have things happen that we didn't expect. So I write from a place of authenticity of what my life is. I lost my dad and I lost Michael Constantine within the same time period, and I wrote about it. And it was very difficult. I would write, I was wet with tears because we love our dads. We love our dads.
So in the second movie, you said that one of the reasons you just sat up and started to write was that you became a mother.
Yes.
And that was the
catalyst.
Yes, exactly. So this time it was the loss of your father.
Yes, it was the loss of father, and also I believe the place in our families that we take is eventually we become the parents. in our own family. And we have to be the caregivers of our own parents and help them make decisions as they age. If we're lucky and we get to have our parents. So that's what I wrote about this time, of when is it time to take your place in becoming the caregiver in your family.
Νία, για όσους δεν το ξέρουν, εγώ βέβαια πέρασα όλο το Σαββατοκύριακο και τις προηγούμενες μέρες διαβάζοντας και βλέποντας ξανά τις ταινίες και διαβάζοντας όλες τις συνεντεύξεις σου. Θα ήθελα να σταθούμε λίγο στην ιστορία αυτής της πολύ αγαπημένης ταινίας, το «Γάμος αλλά ελληνικά» το πρώτο, το οποίο παρεπιπτόντως είναι η πιο πετυχημένη σε εισπράξεις ρομαντική κομμωδία όλων των εποχών. Και να πούμε λίγο την ιστορία της, γιατί έχει ενδιαφέρον. Είμαστε εδώ σε ένα συνέδριο που λέει στις γυναίκες να κυνηγάνε τα όνειρά τους.
Ναι.
Πάντα. Και this is exactly what your story was about. A woman who had a voice and who had a talent, but she had no connections in the movie industry. So she was facing many rejections, many disappointments. Will you please tell us how did you start writing the script of My Big Fat Greek Wedding, the original?
I had worked in theater for years, and in theater you can play anything you want. Φοράς μπερούκα και σκάει μέσα μια γυναίκα και μπορείς να είσαι whoever you want. Και στο θέατρο ήμουν ελεύθερη. Πήγα στο Los Angeles και μου είπανε, my agent, she said, I said, why can't I get work on film? And she said, here's the problem with you. And that sentence is a problem for me. If someone tells you there's a problem with you, από μέσα της έχει πόνο. For her to look out and say to me, here's the problem with you. You're not pretty enough to be a leading lady, and you're not fat enough to be a character actress. Μου το είπε.
She was mad.
Και έμεινα, I wanted her to go, αστείο, πλάκα, λέω. Δεν ήτανε. Μου το είπε και μετά είπε, and what are you anyway? And I said, I'm Greek. And she said, that's the problem. Again, two problems, my looks and my background. She said, you aren't a minority. You're not Hispanic. You're not Asian. You're not black. I cannot get you work. And she fired me. And I left her office and I drove home. In the car, I was very articulate. I got up, μόνη μου. Αλλά έμεινα εκεί, δεν ήξερα τι να πω. Και η φιλινάδα μου, που είναι Xanthia, she's thin, she's beautiful, her agent that day fired her, same day. He said to her, I can't get you work because you look like everyone in this city. So in that moment, I thought, we cannot let anyone tell us where we belong, where we deserve to be. So, my family is crazy, like your family, right? So I have an aunt who has a bump on the back of her neck, and she says it was her twin. Great, her name is Bula, great. I wrote that down. I had been married the year before, I wrote that down. I wrote down every story that I had been telling for years. I borrowed a friend's computer, δεν είχαμε λεφτά καθόλου. I borrowed a friend's computer, I wrote the scenario, the first draft, in 3 weeks. And I sent it to the Library of Congress to get it copyrighted because I did not know about the Writers Guild. And I waited. Then I thought, well, now what am I going to do? I have a screenplay. Oh, I'll send it to the studios. So I would send it and it would come back in the same envelope. Όχι, they don't accept unsolicited material. So I thought, okay, I've done theater. I'm going to get on stage and I'm going to tell every story from the screenplay and I'm going to play all the characters like I did. So I always say, if the phone doesn't ring with a job offer, call yourself. Just call yourself. I rented the theater. It was expensive. I was doing voiceover work at the time for Bud Light beer. If you hear the voice on Bud Light beer, it's a bunch of guys, Soleimani, they were drinking, and you hear me go, it's what guys do best. That's what I did. So I took all that money, I rented a theater, I charged $10 a ticket, and I did the show, and I was happy. I was happy. People came to the show, they said, this should be a movie. I would say, I wrote a screenplay, and they'd say, we don't want to read it. We're going to change it to a Hispanic family, and we're going to make a movie about Latin people. And I said, but I want to keep it Greek. And they said, there are no movies about Greek people. And I said, exactly. What do we have? Zorba the Greek. We don't have a lot there, never on Sunday. So I pushed and I pushed, and then Rita Wilson and Tom Hanks came to the show, and Rita said, this should be a movie. And Leme, that I gave her my screenplay so fast that her hair flew back. And she said, and then Tom called me and said, we're going to produce your movie and you're going to play the bride.
So Tom Hanks called you?
Yeah, and I thought it was my friend Brian, and I hung up. Nah, that's how it happened. So you have to push. Now, I have a mother who says all the time, why not you, right? And that's what we have to say to our children. I have a teenager now. My teenager is going to go, she wants to write. She wants to go into a writing program. She applied for a very difficult program. And I said that sentence to her, why not you? 18 people get accepted, why not you? We have to say this to our teenagers. Συνέχεια, why not you? Maybe on the 10th time they'll hear us, because children never listen.
Let's talk about motherhood, since you brought that up. You've written a book.
Yes.
It's called Instant Mom και ξαφνικά μαμά.
Εδώ, ναι.
Έχει μεταφραστεί στα ελληνικά, για όσους θέλουν να το βρουν, είναι ένα εκπληκτικό βιβλίο. Πολλές γυναίκες στην Ελλάδα παλεύουν με την υπογονιμότητα και πολλές γυναίκες στην Ελλάδα, φίλες μου, συνάδελφοί μου, προσπαθούν εδώ και χρόνια να αποκτήσουν ένα παιδί που το θέλουν τόσο πολύ, με διαδικασίες εξωσωματικής γονιμοποίησης. Και είναι ένα πάρα πολύ ακριβό και πάρα πολύ ψυχοφθόρο πράγμα.
Και δύσκολο. Πολύ δύσκολο.
Και δύσκολο. Και με πολλή απογοήτευση
και δεν πρέπει να είναι.
So, you wrote about all that in your book. How many years have you been trying yourself?
I tried for 10 years to achieve motherhood, and it is the one thing that was very difficult for me, very difficult. And when I learned about adoption, it seemed absolutely the right path for me to take. My child was almost 3 years old. I had 14 hours notice when I adopted her, 14 hours, and ήρθε στο σπίτι μου αμέσως. And it was a shock. And I wrote the book, and I donate all proceeds to get kids adopted because why is it so difficult? I'll tell you why. Because we need social workers to look into the background of the people, and we don't pay our social workers enough, and they have to have their master's degrees. We pay for the wrong things in America. We don't pay our teachers. We don't pay our librarians. We don't pay our social workers. It doesn't make sense. So that was my way of trying to help.
In Greece, it is also very, it takes a lot of time, although there has been some significant change lately, but it still takes a lot of time and it's a very difficult procedure. So perhaps you can be an ambassador.
I would love to
promote foster adoption and adoptions.
Adoption from foster care is not for everyone because if the child is not legally emancipated, it can be difficult. Because you have to go to court, and sometimes it is the right of the birth parent to have their child back, and other times you think this is not a good choice.
So now your daughter is 17?
Yes.
18. So you went through, you had a teenager in your house.
Yes.
How was that?
It's good, actually, good, because she's a very nice person. I'm very lucky. She's typical teenager, but I think the pandemic, because ήμασταν σπίτι, συνέχεια, and we became closer.
And there is a particular characteristic about this generation, the generation Z. I mean, they are more, perhaps they're better than us in many things, like setting boundaries.
Yes.
But also they're very exposed to violence and to their screens.
Yes.
So there's always this fight for less screen time, or how did you deal with
When we were growing up, we did not have access to pornography. We did not. We had that one cousin who had a magazine under his bed. That's it, right? That one weird cousin that your dad would say, stay away from that guy, right? And nobody else had access to pornography. Our children are being exposed to it. They can click on it and find it on their phone. You can put all the controls you want and they're going to find it. The only way to stop anything from happening is to constant conversation and communication. There are choices. I'm a firm believer in choice. It is your choice to have a biological child. It is your choice to adopt a child. It is your choice to look at pornography, but it is not the choice of the woman who is doing pornography. This is probably a person who did not have access to education and healthcare and all the things that we in this room, probably all of us, have. So I feel sadness for these women, and that is what I tell my child. You are looking at a woman who has been subjugated in some way. This is your choice. Do you want to do this? And I just try to show her from an ethical place as opposed to don't do it.
Παίζουν ρόλο τα πρότυπα που βλέπουμε στον κινηματογράφο και στην τηλεόραση, τα στερεότυπα, the gender stereotypes with which we grow up. And when you write, do you have these things in your mind? Like in my big fat Greek wedding #2, if I remember correctly, there was some mention about women's rights and, you know, things had changed in the meanwhile. So
yes.
Do you incorporate some of these struggles in your
reading?
Because
my mom will say to me, why is a man a chef but a woman is a cook? Why? Why do we have these gender stereotypes, small things that we grow up with? So I try very hard to turn them aside, but not preaching. I try very hard to just do it subtly. In my Big Fat Greek Wedding 3, there is a line where the girl says, not everyone has to grow up and make Greek babies. And the Thea says, some do. And then the girl says, and I respect their choice. Because that's what I want to do. I don't like it when I meet a woman and she says, I'm just a stay-at-home mom. There's no just in front of what we do. I am a stay-at-home mom. That is my choice. And we have to applaud her and applaud the CEO of a company.
Do you have any advice for, and now you're a mentor in other writers, so do you have any advice for other writers and particularly, I don't know, women writers?
I always say to writers, write what you know and don't write what you think will sell. Because if we write what we think will sell, creatively we've gone dead inside. We have to write from our hearts and to write their story. I also teach screenwriting. At USC I've spoken, and the person who's sitting at the back, the shyest person usually has the most interesting story, but it's difficult, and it's difficult to find the time. Writing, well, I always say writing is hard, but to be honest, coal mining is hard, right? Writing is hard to find the time and to find the focus and to find this, and you have to be very disciplined. But everyone has a story, and not the most obvious story. The story inside you, where something bad happened to you, or you saw something bad and you did something good, or you have someone in your family that you know has a problem and you helped that person or they helped you. That to me is interesting, and everyone has a story.
So your story was a very Greek story and a happy story. So in what ways do you feel that the Greek heritage, growing up as a child of Greek immigrants in Canada, in what ways has that formed you?
I think it's the thing that we were saying, right? What's the word? Exoterico?
Exoterico.
Okay, thank you. I think those of us in the diaspora, I think that we see Greece as the Holy Land, and our parents see America and Canada as a place that they went to build a life because they didn't have food in the χωριό. Back then, in the 1950s, right? They had to go. They had to go because of a lack of qualities that they wanted in Greece. Now, things are better here. Now, people want to stay here. But back then, my dad had to come to have a job and to meet his wife and to make me, right? So I think that growing up, all Greek children make fun of their parents, right? Because we had exactly what I described. We had statues on the front lawn. We were very Greek because for Greeks in America, they come and time stops for them in 1950. Here, time goes on. You're modern. people live together before marriage. Not there. Not there. It doesn't happen.
Η Ελληνίδα μάνα πάντως, να ξέρεις, είναι η ίδια κόμμα.
Okay.
Και εμείς γινόμαστε η Ελληνίδα μάνα στις κόρες μας και δεν το θέλουμε. Πες μου για τα αγαπημένα σου ελληνικά πράγματα. Τα αγαπημένα σου ελληνικά.
Τα φοράω τώρα.
Το φαγητό.
Το φαγητό μου αρέσει μουσακά και το φτιάχνω. Η μαμά μου μας έμαθε να είμαστε στη κουζίνα και να είμαστε ήρεμοι. Και μου αρέσει πάρα πολύ να μαγειρεύω, να μαγειρέψω και η κόρη μου τα τρώει όλα ωραία. Και μου αρέσει πάρα πολύ να δω εδώ, να είμαι εδώ, που ηρέμησα αμέσως όταν ήρθα εδώ. Τι ωραίο το ξενοδοχείο και το μέρος και τη θάλασσα που έχουμε εδώ. Είναι απίστευτο. Αυτό όλα που έχουμε εδώ στην Ελλάδα δεν τα έχουμε εκεί στην Αμερική. Τη θάλασσα, το νερό, πώς μυρίζει εδώ, τι ωραία. Και εμείς, we are Greeks, we are φιλότιμοι. And that is a beautiful thing, and I love that. I love that about being here.
Χαίρομαι που λες ότι ηρέμησες, μια και είναι ένα από τα θέματα που θα συζητήσουμε σήμερα εδώ. Το mental health, well-being, το burnout που ταλαιπωρεί πολλές γυναίκες. So, what does well-being means to you? I mean, where do you find that peace?
Here's the question that I always ask with women are expected to do it all. And I know this because I make movies, and when I do interviews, they ask me, how do you balance motherhood and my career? But they don't ask men that. They don't ask my friend Steve Carell. They don't ask Will Ferrell that, who's a dad and also a filmmaker, because it is expected that he has help. And we also place this expectation on ourselves. We do it. We expect a lot of ourselves. I mean, look at everyone today. Everyone looks great. If this was a gathering of men, sorry, everyone would be, in sneakers and much more comfortable. But everyone is, we take care of ourselves and we present ourselves in a very professional way, which is quite beautiful. I have a story that I will tell you that it was a life lesson for me. I have an office in my home and I write in my home. I wake up very early and I write at 4 o'clock in the morning for 2 hours before my daughter wakes up. My rule is no internet, no news, no nothing, and I write 2 hours. I get my daughter off to school, I exercise, I come back, I write. And it's what I have to do, it's what I do for a living. And there was a lot of construction on my street. They were building that house and that house and that house. And there was a food truck there. We have the same here, right? Honk, honk, 10 φορές την ημέρα, honk, honk. It was driving me crazy. And then I had a meeting and I ran to get ready, mascara, lipstick, ran out to the meeting, passing the food truck, all the construction. I couldn't even get out of my street. I got to my meeting and I had lost my keys. My keys were for my car, my wallet, everything. I was there, my car wouldn't start. So I had to call the company to get me home. And I didn't know what to do for the entire weekend. I didn't have credit cards, I didn't have cash, I didn't have anything. I didn't ask a friend. That's the thing, this is a life lesson for me. There are so many, but here's what happened. My address is where I get my mail on my driver's license, at my post office box. So I said to the ladies there, if anyone comes with my keys, please let me know. After 3 days, somebody came and they chased after the person and said, wait, please, can I have your number? So I went, I got my keys, my wallet, all the money was in there, and a phone number. And I called the phone number, and the woman answered and said, I'm so sorry, I went away for the weekend, and I couldn't get you your keys right away, and I left them at the post office box. And I said, thank you so much for giving me back my wallet and my keys. Where did you find them? And she said, I found them, and she said, my street name. And I said, oh, do you live on my street? And she said, no, I drive a food truck. Oh. And I went outside, just like this. And I just took her agalices, and I saw in her eyes another working mother. I'm a working mother, she's a working mother. And it made me just go so calm. And I realized that I had to take better care of myself. That was 4 years ago, and since then, I've learned to meditate. I've learned to really find ways to practice self-care. And when I told my girlfriends that story, they said, "Why did you call us? I would have picked you up. I would have given you money for the weekend." We don't ask for help very often. So that, for me, was my, I think, biggest life lesson of this decade.
That's a beautiful story, and it matches so much, it resonates so much with the reason we're all here. Listen to one another's story and all that procedure being so empowering. Nia, thank you so much for coming to the Power Trip, for being here with us. And I'm so happy you enjoy your
This
day.
is fantastic, thank you.
And we're looking forward to watch My Big Fat Greek Wedding #3.
Thank you.
September 8th. And go to the movies. Don't watch it afterwards, you know?
It's good in the movies. It's big.
It's
you
so
know,
nice.
I took all of Greece and I put it into a movie camera lens. You gotta see it big at a theater.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
So much.
Thank you. I'm stepping on my dress.
Yeah,
Thank you.
no problem.